1, 2, 3, 4.
And welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 3, Episode 4. So we got a good topic this week. I'm going to be talking about physical games versus digital games, as well as a little bit of my take on Final Fantasy VII, since I completed the game about maybe 3 days ago after I'm recording this Tuesday, and I will have a full review out for probably the next topic of our show very soon. So look forward to that. Overall, there hasn't been a whole lot of gaming news this week. Things are relatively slow, probably due to COVID. Again, this is kind of the slow season where we get some releases, but not a whole lot of news. I think a lot of news will probably come around June when we have E3. Even though E3 is canceled this year because of COVID, we'll still see publishers like Activision, like Sony, like Blizzard, in Riot, whoever you can think of, Nintendo and Microsoft, do their own shows online. So we're probably going to see a lot of that in June. But like always, let's get into esports, starting with the Overwatch League. So in the Overwatch League regular season, we have Seoul Dynasty in first place, followed by Philadelphia Fusions, then Shanghai Dragons, New York Excelsior, Atlanta, San Francisco, London, Paris, Vancouver, Los Angeles Gladiators, Guangzhou Chargers, Toronto, Florida, Hangzhou Sparks, Houston, Chengdu Hunters, Dallas Fuels, Los Angeles Valence, Washington, and Boston Uprising is in last place. In League of Legends, again, all leagues are in playoffs right now for Spring Split, so we're going to go all over playoffs. In LPL, round 1, we had Team WE versus E-Star, and then Royals Never Give Up versus Edward Gaming. They have yet to play, but then in the quarterfinals, we have Top Esports versus To Be Decided, and Fun Plus Phoenix versus To Be Decided. In the semifinals, we have Invictus Gaming versus To Be Decided, and JD Gaming versus To Be Decided, and then finals is open-ended. In LCK playoffs, in the first round, we had KT versus Damwon Gaming. KT lost to Damwon 2-1. And then quarterfinals, we have Damwon versus Dragon X. Dragon X won 3-2. And then semifinals, we had Dragon X versus T1. They have yet to play. And in the finals, we have Genji versus either Dragon X or T1, depending on who wins. In the LEC, which is Europe finals, in round 1, we had G2 versus Mad Lions. Mad Lions won. Fnatic versus Origins. Fnatic won. Misfits versus Rogue. Rogue won. In round 2, we had Fnatic versus Origins. Fnatic versus Mad Lions. Fnatic won. Origins versus Rogue. Rogue won. Quarterfinals, we had Origins versus G2. G2 won, and in the semifinals, we had G2 versus Mad Lions. G2 won, and in the finals, we had Fnatic versus G2, where G2 3-0'd Fnatic for the victory. So they won Spring Split in Europe. Congratulations to G2. They're always winning. One of the best teams in the West, so not surprised. In NA, which is more of a clusterfuck, we have, in round 1, we had Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. Cloud9 won. Evil Genius versus FlyQuest. Evil Genius won. In round 2, we had FlyQuest versus Golden Guardians. FlyQuest won. 100 Thieves versus TSM. TSM won. Then in quarterfinals, we had Cloud9 versus Evil Geniuses. Cloud9 won. FlyQuest versus TSM. TSM lost to FlyQuest, and in the semifinals, it was FlyQuest versus Evil Geniuses. FlyQuest won, and they moved on to versus Cloud9, where Cloud9 3-0'd them in the final. So congratulations to Cloud9 for winning Spring Split 2020. Now, moving on to the ESL Pro League. We still have Fnatic in first, followed by Astral Unbet, and then Mouse Esports, Navi, XBet, FaZe Clan in fifth, and OG in sixth. So for games to look forward to, nothing spectacular. We have Gato Roboto come out for the Xbox One today. The rest of the month you have Deliver Us the Moon, Predator, Hunting Grounds, Trials of Mana, XCOM, Gears Tactics, Moving Out, Sakura Wars, Showrunner, Telling Lies, Levelhead, and Street of Rage 4. So really nothing to be noteworthy. Into May though, May was supposed to be the month that The Last of Us was supposed to be released, I believe, but it's been delayed indefinitely. So for May, again, there's nothing huge. We're just gonna go over it real fast. We have Arcade Spirit, Frozen Streets, John Wick game, a Sonic, an Olympics game for iOS and Android. We have Best Friends Forever, Saints Row the Third Remastered is supposed to come out. The BioShock and Borderlands collections are supposed to, and the XCOM 2 are supposed to come out for the Switch, so I guess that's cool. You know, more ports for the Switch. Not really what Nintendo wants. They've been trying to get, I think, more original games to the Switch. That's why they're porting those games to the Switch, because they're great classic games, but they're games at this point that everyone has already played, which is the sad part. Minecraft Dungeons was probably the big release for May. That's supposed to come out. Probably the biggest release for me personally is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition. So nothing huge in May either. So expect kind of a slow, stale month while you're playing your Animal Crossing and Doom and Final Fantasy. So that's to be expected. Overall, let's get into my thoughts on Final Fantasy. Now that I've beaten it, it's overall, up until the very end of the game, it is a fantastic game and is diehard true to its original predecessor. To the remake, it's a remake. It's a really good remake, and I really like how Square grew certain characters like Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, who in the original, when they were there in the beginning of the game, and then they were just gone, like just face off the earth, like they didn't matter anymore to the story, so they were gone. But in the remake, we get to explore a little bit more of their past and their connections. We actually learn about them as characters, so they actually got development. Not only that, but there's parts of the world that got development. In the game, for example, there's a part in the remake where you have to make your way to Mako Reactor 5. Now, that's in the original game, but in the original game, you literally get off the train carts and you're in the subways, and you just maneuver your way to the subways until you're there. But in this section, they made you have to go on top of the plate and turn off the lamps, and you got to experience a little bit of Midgard and the size of Midgard and how big it is as a city. So those experiences in the remake were amazing. Just like the scale of everything just went up compared to the original. However, that is also a downside, I think. If you look at gameplay and if you played it, if you look in the backgrounds look terrible. That's a downside. I think that just kind of comes with PS3, PS4 console technology, where they can't produce good quality backgrounds like that. The levels look good, but everything outside of the level doesn't, and it's really noticeable, and it can take you out a little bit. Other than that, the camera again was my biggest problem throughout the game. You get used to it the more you play it, but in the beginning it's just very, very weird camera angles, and it's very hard to see, and it's a little wonky with combat. Same with combat, you get used to it more you play it. So my complaints last week, yes, they're still valid, but the more you play it, the more used to the game you get. And the ending, again, what I said originally a couple episodes ago on It's Not a Sport, where I was hearing reviews about the ending becoming very Kingdom Hearts like. It does. It definitely does. There, after a certain point in the game, it just like becomes Kingdom Hearts, which I get, because with Square deciding to break this game up into 3 episodes that they're trying to sell for $60 or whatever, they need to, actually sum up the story, because they can't leave it at a cliffhanger, because games take a long time to make, and we don't even know when the next part of Final Fantasy Remake is going to come out. They haven't talked about it at all. So they need a conclusion to that story overall, and I understand why they did the things they did, but I wish they didn't do the things they did. So it's a very skeptical ending. I'm going to talk about this when I get the full review. That's just kind of my unspoiler review, I guess you could say, and then I'll have a big spoiler review. But overall, I definitely think you should check out the game, especially if you haven't played the classic. Check this out. Buy it. It is worth the money, and so far it's been I haven't played a lot of the new games this year, but it is a contender for Game of the Year for me. It's on the list. So with that being said, we're going to move on to our show's main topic, which is physical disc games versus digital games. I hope you enjoyed this week's talk. It's I think overdue. I think I should have done it a long time ago, but it's going to be a good one. All right, so for this episode, or this talk, I want to talk about digital versus physical and what you should really purchase. The TLDR, the obvious choice right now, go digital. It's more efficient in the long run just to go digital. We've seen consoles try, and I don't know if they're going to with this current generation of consoles, but I know that they've been trying to get rid of the disc drive in the console for a decently long time now. At least Xbox has. So long run, go digital. But we're going to go over the pros and the cons of both, starting with disc. So some of the pros for having a physical copy of a game or a movie, or more for a game is this talk, but it also can apply to a movie or an album, like a music. You have a collection. It's really cool to have a collection of games that you've collected over the years on your shelf. Same with like books, same with songs. My dad has a collection of like vinyl records and a shit ton of CDs from his days. But it's really cool to have that collection, so you can always go through and be like, hey, I remember this song, I love this, let's play this. The second is the cover art. It's really cool to have the cover art. You can take the cover art out of the case and put it up on your wall. That's kind of what I tried to do with like the Breath of the Wild's cover art for when I had, because I have a physical copy of Breath of the Wild. So I took the art out of the case and I put it up on the wall, and there you go. You have your own little mini poster. This applies to everything. You can even get the exclusive stuff, because sometimes now they have like steel editions. Like if you bought the deluxe edition for Persona 5 Royals, which recently was released, then you get like a steel booklet instead of a just a normal plastic one. The second one, or the third pro, is that you own the game, and this also goes on to the fourth one as well. So you physically own that copy of Modern Warfare or Assassin's Creed or Destiny or whatever. You physically own that copy, and the developers can't take that away from you. So keep this in mind, because this is also kind of goes into pros a bit more for digital, or cons at least. But you own that game, and because you own that game, Another pro is that you can trade it and you can sell it and you can lend it to other people, and no one can really stop you from doing that. So if I lent Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to Jamie, told him how good it was, and he played it and he gave it back to me. He said, this is a fantastic game, I really enjoy this. And I was like, yeah dude, they're remaking the original, it's coming out on the Switch in May. And he's like, oh shit, for real, can't wait for it. So because I lent him that game, he was able to experience that instead of actually paying for it. Again, I can also just sell it. I could sell it back to GameStop, even though I'm probably not the smartest idea right now, or sell it on eBay or whatever, or just trade it for another game of somebody's if I wanted to, or just give it away if I was nice enough. Another pro is discounts more. Because they are physical, if you go on Amazon, generally if you buy a physical copy of a game on Amazon, it's like 20% off, which is nothing. It just brings it down. If it's $60, it may bring it down like $55. So you're saving like $5 or something like that. But they do discount a little bit more on Amazon and on GameStop than digital sales do. So you may save just a little bit of money. And the last thing is internet speed. You don't need internet speed for a physical copy. Cons of waiting for digital is that you have to have good internet speed and you have to wait for it to download. With a physical copy, you don't have to do that. So that's kind of some of the cons to buy a disc. Now here are some of the negatives. The negatives, tax. Obviously, you can't really dodge it. Tax is tax. Normally I don't have a problem with tax, but I live in a very expensive state, so that's why tax is kind of a problem. Another con is that they're easy to break and easy to lose. I wish I had my original copy of Modern Warfare 2 for the PS3. I don't know what happened to it. It's been lost to the years of time, and it makes me sad. Same with a lot of physical copies. It's just they just get lost. They just break. They get scratched. It's harder to do it now, but still they get fucked up, and that's it. They're gone. It's over. Another bad one is, again, kind of vice versa, collection. My dad has tons of CDs of music, and they're just piling up, and he doesn't really know what to do with them anymore. Same with vinyl CDs. Again, that's kind of different because they're relics of an older time. They didn't have digital yet, and a lot of those are worth something because they're not on digital. But for now, with a lot of games that are being digital, if I want to buy the new Final Fantasy, I want to buy it on disc, because eventually you rack up a big collection, and then you're like, what do I do with all this room? And it just fucks you over in the long run. Another one, it's kind of hassle to get. Amazon, I guess, makes it easier, but especially with pre-ordering stuff. I remember I pre-ordered the original Destiny on like Amazon, and it didn't come out. I didn't get it until like a week later, after its initial release. So I didn't get to play on release day. That's, kind of sad. Same with like a lot, like that applies now like more than ever with the COVID-19 virus going around. It's harder to get your physical copy delivered to you on time. There's actually been reports for like the new Final Fantasy is that they started delivering them out earlier than the release date, so people can have them because it's so fucked up. So that is a downside, is that they're just a hassle to get. No, you don't, with digital, you don't have to worry about that. So what are some of the pros of digital? Oh, but before that, actually, I skipped one. The business cons of disc, and why businesses don't want you, businesses being your favorite studio that is producing the game, doesn't want to really do disc. Warehouse prices. So they have to pay for someone to make the disc and put it and mass produce that. They have to mass produce the cases, the art. They have to mass produce the discs and the games and the files and everything like that, and that costs money. And then they have to pay for the warehouses to hold all those products. They have to go somewhere, they have to be somewhere. And then once that, the retailers that sell them take a percentage off. So after you pay for all that, like I said, that if I buy a game through the PlayStation Store, they take 30% off. Well, if you buy it from, it's that 30% on top of like another 5% from Target or something like that. So overall, they're making less money with disc copies, which is why I think we've seen games get more expensive over the years. It's just not beneficial for them, and that's why they don't want to do it. That's why we probably see a lot of the sales and the 5% off, because they want those to sell as fast as possible. It's really just overall, disc is just not good. Even though I listed all those and you're like, oh wait, those pros sound pretty good, I'm going to explain why digital is better. So digital, some of the pros, it's more convenient, of course. I don't have to go to midnight release. I don't have to leave my house. I just, buy it, download it, wait a couple hours, boom, there you go. It's a lot more convenient. Cross-buy platform and your collection. If I buy it on Steam at computer 1 and then go play it on computer 2, I can do that. It's there. If I buy it on PS4, I can now play it on my PS5. It's there. If I buy it, on my tablet or on my phone, it's on my Apple iPad or my computer, it's there. So you're building that type of collection where you're always going to have, it's easier access to your games on multiple throughout time, and why I say it's better in the long run, because if my computer breaks, the only thing I lose is a save. I don't lose the game, I just lose the save. So it's like, yeah, oh shit, the save's gone, but now there's cloud saving, you can back it up easier, and I still own the game no matter what, or quote on own. It doesn't break, you don't lose it. Again, that's kind of, I just talked about that as some of the pros. The game doesn't physically break and it's like shit. I don't lose it. Of course, some of the cons, like the pros for disc, apply to the cons and vice versa to digital. Like I can't trade it technically. Back in the old days, you were able to download the game onto your friend's PlayStation, and as long as they logged into your account, then they could play it. I believe it works the same way. The problem is you got to give them your account info, which is kind of very sketchy, I think. But that's kind of one of the downsides of digital. At least you can't trade it. Again, the collection, it's cool to have a digital collection. It's cool looking at your Steam library and looking at all the games that you gotten over all the Steam sales. Same with the PlayStation library. It's like, oh, I have this. Oh, I got that. Oh, yeah, I remember that. It's cool to see that collection. Another pro, again, this kind of goes back to tax. You get to dodge tax online sometimes. On Steam, you used to not have to pay tax. Now you have to. Again, I live in Illinois, so tax is kind of a big thing because it's fucking ridiculous here. I'm sure it's the same in California and New York. Those states where just tax is ridiculous. If you live in somewhere like Utah, it probably doesn't matter to you. But for the 3 big major states in the United States, tax can get ridiculously high. So online, you can dodge it. I know you don't have to pay tax on the Epic Store currently, as of, right now. Eventually, you probably will, but you don't have to pay state tax. I think overall government tax is still there, but state tax is the one that really fucks me personally, and you get to dodge that. And then of course you could do your own kind of, this one's a little more skeptical route, but when you're buying a game digital, you can go on one of the third-party retailers, buy the code, and that's a little bit cheaper. That's how I got Sekiro, and then you type in the code and then you own the game that way. So it's a different route. Those are a little scammier because you're buying codes from other people. It's kind of like they're flipping the codes. Don't buy from G2A. There's other sites, and of course developers don't get as much money if you do it through that route. So some of the cons for digital, internet speed, of course. If you don't get cover art, you can't trade it. It doesn't discount more often, of course. Like I named before, some of the pros for the disc. But the biggest con and the biggest concern for digital is that you don't actually own your game. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you buy a game digitally, if PlayStation shuts down and goes bankrupt, what happens to your games? You know? If a company shuts down, if Steam goes down, what happens to those? Well, they're gone. What you're buying digitally, and it's very important that you understand this, is when you buy a game digitally, you're not buying the game. You're buying a license to play the game. And that's how it works. So they could technically take away your license and then you couldn't be able to play the game anymore. They could technically do that. They're probably not going to do that, of course, but they can do that. If something goes under, then you can't buy the game. You ever wonder why like games are sometimes on Steam and then they disappear? If you own the original Skyrim on Steam like I do, it's still there, but they're not selling that. They're only selling the special edition, but you still physically own it. You still own it. It's in your account. But you only can buy the special edition now. You can't buy the old version of Skyrim. So there's two kind of different versions of Skyrim. The special edition and normal Skyrim. And I bought the license to play the normal Skyrim. I could still play the normal Skyrim. But if you bought Skyrim now, they took away the license for the original Skyrim, and you can only buy the license to play the special edition of Skyrim. And that's kind of how it works. And that's the biggest concern, is that you don't physically own the game. You only own the license, and they can do whatever they want with the license. And that's, the scary part. And that's the biggest reason why digital is, skeptical. But overall, why you should go digital and why you shouldn't go disc now is because it is better in the long run. We've seen it. You've probably lived through it with Blockbuster and Netflix, all those movies that you own, physical copies of. And I believe that if you do truly love a movie or a game, you should own a physical copy of it just to have it there. Same reason with a book. If you truly love that book, you should have a physical copy of books. Like I love Batman, so I bought Year One and just some of the big Batman comics, Dark Knight Returns, just to have those because they are classics and I believe you should have them. But in the long run, it's better for me to have it digital because that's probably not going to go anywhere. It's not going to get broken. It's not going to get damaged. Nothing like that's going to happen to it. And I'm not going to get a huge collection where it's room, or if I had a fire, it's get burned, etc., etc. So in the long run, it's better to go digital. Again, it's your preference. It's your choice. I'm more of a digital person myself, but it's totally up to your call. I hope you enjoyed this talk. I hope it's kind of enlightened you about vice versa when buying a game and what you want to do. I think also a good thing to take in consideration is the developers. If you really like the developers and you want them to make their money, it's probably better to go digital or buy straight from them rather than through a retailer like Amazon or Steam or whatever. So it's totally your call. And I hope, and the goal of this talk was to really enlighten that and share this information and make people understand the differences. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of It's Not a Sport. If you want to watch all of our previous episodes or listen to all of our previous episodes, they're up on our YouTube channel, It's Not a Sport. Follow us on our website, itsnotasport.com. Follow us on our Instagram, It's Not a Sport to you. And if you have any topics you wish for me to discuss, feel free to contact us on our website or on our Instagram. This has been your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful climb.